Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing good. And thank you so much for all your love and support in my last video. I never expected such a great response from you all. So thank you so much once again. So as promised before, I am back with yet another video on tips for beginners in acrylic painting. For all the viewers who are new to my channel or haven't seen the first part of this video before, I have attached the link of the first part in the description box below. Please check it out. So let's begin. In the previous part of this video, I had discussed about the brushes, the colors and the different types of painting surfaces. Today, I'll be discussing about palettes, varnishes, color mediums and a few more. Let's start with the types of palettes that you can use for acrylics. There are so many different types of palettes available in the market. Some of them are so fancy and beautiful that you cannot keep yourself from buying them. But the bad news is you cannot use all types of palettes for acrylics. As acrylics dry very fast, so after they dry, you can peel them off like plastic. But if you use normal plastic palettes for the purpose, they tend to get dried up at the nooks and corners of the plastic palettes, and it is very difficult to remove the paint from the surface. The best palette for acrylic, according to me, are glass palettes or ceramic palettes. You can use any ceramic plates or bowl which must be available at your house. You don't need to spend too much for all the fancy palettes available in the market. However, I avoid using glass palettes because I always have the fear of breaking it. So what I use are these very cheap switchboards that I had. I have around 3 to 4 of them that were extra, and they are the best palette I have used so far. You must be wondering, how are we supposed to clean these palettes? You can use any diluted form of detergent liquid. Let the detergent sit on these dried paints for some time, for around 30 minutes, and then rub them with your hands or a special type of scrubber that we use for cleaning the utensils. I personally use this scrubber for the purpose. See how well that removes the paint from the surface. You can use another thing instead of this, that is the palette knives. They work great for removing the dried out paints. And the best way out is, however, to wash your palette so the colors get dried up. Let's talk about the acrylic mediums now. Before I elaborate about the various types, I want to tell something very basic about acrylic painting. I would like to focus on the most common type of medium that we use for acrylics, that is water. As acrylics are water soluble, so we mostly use water for it. But it is very important to understand the amount of water that we should mix with acrylics. Too much or too less of water can affect your painting process. In the first one, I have used too less water, and you can see the brush strokes here. It becomes very difficult to apply the paint. But here, I have used little more water with that, and that eases out the process of painting or applying the paint on paper. However, in no way can you use too much water with your paint, as I am doing here. Actually, acrylic paints are made up of a pigment and a binder. When you use the right quantity of water, there is still the right amount of binder with the pigment, which helps the pigment to bind with the paper. But when you use too much water, the paint solution gets diluted. So, there is less binder and more water. Water does not help the paint to bind. So maybe it becomes very easy to apply the paint on the paper with more water on it, or it gives a kind of watercolor effect to the paint, but it is not suggested. It makes the paint weaker, and as the paint dries, it will either get cracks on it or might also get peeled off from the canvas or the paper. So if at all you want a watercolor consistency, Then you have to use a special type of medium for the purpose. Here I am using medium 1, which is mainly used to dilute the acrylic colors, and they work great. You can use more of the medium to make the paint look more dilute and watery, and you can use less of the medium if you don't want too much watery consistency. Please follow the technique how I use the medium with the color. I haven't used any water whatsoever with the paint while I am using a medium. Can you see how smooth the paint goes? Please notice the buttery consistency of the paint on the paper. When I needed to dilute the paint, I added more medium to it. Can you see it here? Yes. This is with more of the medium and lesser of the paint. So the color is lighter and more watery than the previous one. Please notice the difference among all the samples given here. There are so many other mediums that you can use with acrylics. There is gloss medium that adds gloss to your painting. There are matte medium that makes the painting matte. Then there is this medium 2 that you can mix with the metallic powders before applying onto paper. And then there is this retarder which helps to keep the acrylics moist for a longer time. While working with acrylics, it often happens that the colors dry up so fast that we don't have the time to blend the colors well. Especially for the beginners, this is a challenging task. So if you are a beginner yourself and you don't like the fast drying property of acrylics, then you can use a little bit of retarder with your color. That will provide you a little more time for blending. Use it yourself and tell me how you like it. Another very important acrylic painting tip is to use 2 water containers at a time. Yes, it is very important to use 2 containers while you are painting. We are used to using only 1 container, isn't it? Yeah, I know. But why am I asking you to use 2 containers? There's a reason for it. Haven't you noticed that the water gets muddy after painting for some time? See it for yourself. When we are using only 1 container, that you have used so far starts affecting the composition of the color that we made later. But when you give it a second wash in the second container, then all the colors get washed off from the brush and now you are getting clear water. So if we use 2 containers, there are greater chances that we will get the true colors that we intend to mix and make. It helps in proper washing of the brushes and ensures that there are no color debris left in the brushes. My next important tip to you is to always keep a rag or a piece of cloth by your side when you are painting. Since we cannot use too much water with our acrylic paint, so it is very important to dry your brushes after every wash. You may also wipe off your excess paint on the piece of cloth. Moving on to our next topic, that is varnishes. It is not compulsory to varnish every acrylic painting, whether it be on canvas or on paper. When the water dries out of the wet acrylic paint, it leaves micro pores throughout the surface. Varnish is a hard, protective, removable coat applied over the painting surface. The varnish will protect the painting from dust, UV rays and yellowing. Plus, it adds a layer of shine that somehow, almost as if by magic, pulls the whole painting together and makes it look even more amazing, bringing out the gorgeous vibrancy of the colors. Trust me, varnish comes in gloss, satin or matte finish, and there are also varnish sprays available in the market. But you should always notice whether the varnish that you are purchasing is an acrylic varnish or an oil varnish. Oil varnishes cannot be used on acrylic painting. What I am mostly asked about by people is that, how do you keep your paints wet while you are painting? Yes, there are tricks to keep your paint wet. Tip number 1 is to use a sprayer. You can use any discarded sprayer of this kind and you fill the sprayer with water. Whenever you apply paint on your palette, try to spray them gently with water using this sprayer. This will prevent the paint from drying too soon. But if you are working on a big project and want your paint to stay wet for more than a week, then you can use these stay wet palettes. I will try to make a separate video for this stay wet palettes. Please leave a comment on the comment section below if you want to see such video. The very last tip that I want to provide is grounding your canvas. Not every artist likes to ground their canvas, nor is it compulsory for you as an artist to do it always. But grounding is always important and brings a difference in your painting. I am too lazy to follow this step every time I paint, but trust me, it does make a difference. Grounding is the term given to the application of a ground color onto the canvas or the paper, which will then be painted over. It is the first step in the process of painting and should almost never be skipped. There are two reasons why you should ground your canvases before painting. First is the psychology. That is, staring at a bright white blank canvas can be difficult for artists. It almost invokes artistic block. You can't begin to see shapes, form or structure on a blank canvas. By grounding the canvas, you have already begun the process of making art. Psychologically, you have begun painting. The canvas is no longer a virgin. You may also begin to see shapes in the ground that could help if you are struggling for inspiration. Second is color control. Whatever color you put on the canvas as a ground will show through the brush strokes. Using a colored ground is a great way to add subtle warmth or subtle coolness to the overall painting. For example, I would like to use a burnt sienna ground to warm up a cold winter landscape. You can also experiment using other combinations, but always remember to use the opposite color for grounding. For example, if you are using warm colors for your painting, for example, yellow and oranges and reds, then you should ground your canvas using a cool color. And if your painting is cool, then you should use all warm colors to ground your painting. You can see the difference in colors between the grounded surface and the non-grounded surface. That's it, guys. That's all about today's video. I hope it will help you in some way or the other. Please keep painting and keep loving your art journey. And if you have any queries, please don't forget to comment on the comment section below. Till then, have a very good day and a very good weekend. Take care and bye. And please don't forget to subscribe my channel. Like and share with all the art lovers you know. Keep motivating me. Thank you.